Welcome to a no frills episode. Just a lot of work getting done. Also, our Jeep goes up for auction next Wednesday, July 17th on the online site of Bring Your Trailer. So log in and follow along. So it's Saturday morning, exactly 2 weeks from when I went to northern Michigan to pick up a concrete mixer. I'm about to leave now on my way to Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about a little northwest of Nashville, to pick up another engine. See you when I get back. So it's about 10:15 at night where I am, a little bit northwest of Nashville, Tennessee. It's 11:15 back home. I got the engine bought and loaded and got me something to eat, and I'm about to head back now. So I'm going to drive through the night as best I can, and so I can get home for in the morning. And what's going to help keep me awake are these sweet tarts. I don't know what it is about them, but when I chew these when I'm driving and I'm tired, I'm able to push through. So sweet tart people, send me a couple of cases. We'll get this engine home safely very soon, and then we'll get to work on that other one, because that's what needs to happen. So anyway, see you soon. Alright, so here's this engine that I picked up from Tennessee. Let's see if we can get it fired off here for you. Shouldn't take too much, but we'll see. 1923 Fairbanks Morse, and let's see if we can get it fired up here. That was a little rich. Yeah. There we go. There it is. Open crankcase. Jogging along. There it is. Okay, so what we're going to do, Alejandro and I are here to fill in some of the imperfections in the block. So this is how we're going to do it. We already have our resin mixed up with some thickening agent again, and the hardener is already in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to, Alejandro, you're going to hold this bag open for me, please. And then I'm going to try to keep it still. I'm going to put as much of this in there as we can. I have to do it at one time. Alright, I'll take this. Alright, now we're going to close this off. This is just a snack bag, a Ziploc bag. And what we're going to do is cut the corner out of this thing so it's kind of like a baker. And that's going to allow us the ability to better control where we put this stuff. Now, they make syringes to do this, but this is a lot easier than a syringe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into some of these holes that were left, little voids, and we're going to fill it just a little, trying to keep it away from the original part of the block as best we can. If we don't fill these voids, they will hold the next piece that we make, and we won't be able to get it apart. So what I'm going to do now is just take this acid brush and kind of dab it a little bit to give it the same kind of look as the block. We want it to be imperfect. Alright, we'll do some more of that as it's drying. It just needs to be more positive. It cannot be a negative void, or else that'll create an issue for us. Alright, and there's another one here. So we'll squirt a little bit into that. Hopefully fill it up. And we'll do the same thing again. Not only is the acid brush allowing for a different texture look to it, it's also helping to push it into the void itself. So Alejandro, when I was first telling you that we wouldn't want to go over the sides of it, actually we don't really have much of a choice, and it's actually going to look okay. Nice. Alright, so now it's just a matter of letting this stuff kick off, and then we'll come back and set our next mold. Alright, what we're doing now with our Stover engine head is our valves, even this is the incorrect direction, but you'll get an idea. There's a lot of movement in that valve right there, back and forth. So we're going to clean the guide up just a little bit. Make it a little tighter. By doing that, we're going to knurl it, which was we're going to run a series of spirals down into this thing that will allow us to straighten it up. So we've put that there. We have our cutter. I'll show you what those look like in a little bit. We're going to take our drill that has a reducer on the end of it for speed, 4:1, and we're going to run this tool down into the guide. Okay, once it comes out the other side, then what we're going to do first is we'll take our valve, make sure that it still has some play in it, which it does. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step this thing up. So that cutter that was originally in it, this cutter is a 155,000th bit that we ran through it just to get started. I'll show you again what that looks like in a minute. So we're going to step these up 10,000ths of an inch at a time. This is our 165 until we arrive at a point where the valve no longer fits. What it's going to do is it's going to follow that same groove, except it's going to make that groove 10 thousandths thicker, or 5 because it's a circle. So we're going to run a 175 down in it. Yeah, take a peek. See them?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Alright, so now we're going to put our 175 through there. Okay. Then we're going to take a peek at it, see what it looks like. Well, that one took a little longer to cut because it's now cutting more, which is good. It's definitely what we were looking for. So let me show you exactly what it is that we're looking at here. Alright, so you look there, you can see the spirals. Looks like we've threaded it. That's what we were trying to do. That's not threading though, but the blade cut those circles in there. They're non-concentric, and they're spiraling basically down that valve guide. And for the groove that it cut, between the grooves it raised the metal, because we didn't take any metal out, we just moved it. So what's going to happen now is we're going to hopefully okay, now that the guide is done, we're going to cut our valve and cut our seat. Now normally we would put the valve into a valve grinding machine, which if you've seen earlier episodes we've used, but given what this is, we're just going to do it with these handheld versions, and I'm going to put it in a drill. So all I'm going to do is chuck the valve into the drill, like so, make sure it's nice and tight. And then we're going to drill this thing. I'm just going to operate the drill holding this, and a series of cutters is going to machine our valve a little bit for us there. So we'll take our time. You can actually see where it's actually cutting the valve itself. Let me turn it around here so you can see it. So it's already starting to cut the valve a little bit. Alright, you can see we got a relatively decent face there, plenty of margin left. And now what we're going to do is match the seat. That's a 45 degree. We're going to match the seat to a 46. Now I've already got the pilot put in there. We already know the seat cutter that we need for 46. We already have it set and ready. We're also going to do this by hand as well. And we have the machinery to do this with actual regular machines, but we're going to just do these by hand. It's only two. They don't need to be as crucial as an automobile would need to be. So we're just going to do this and get it cut a little bit there. Looks like it's cutting pretty good. Show you the finished product in a minute. Just a little bit of pressure, nice even spins. Alright, got a little spot on this side there. I realize you can't see that, but trust me. Alright, get the guide out of the way. Bring it in here and let you see what we've got going on here. So you can see we've got a nice clean seat. We have our exhaust valve, which was cut. Now what we're going to do is, you can tell our guide is a lot tighter now than it was before. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lap these two together so that when the valve shuts, it creates a better seal, because we think, again, that's where our compression problem is coming from. And we're going to make sure that we have just have a good seal in general, so when we go to start this thing up, it'll hopefully run like it was new. So there you go. Okay, so after getting our seats cut at about at a 46 degree, we also came in and topped it a little bit with a 31, because we wanted to make sure that the valve was actually going to hit in the right spot. So what I'm doing here, I don't have any machinist die, I couldn't find any. So we're going to take a permanent marker and we're going to mark the valve face with it, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to take and put the valve in the head, and then I'm going to simulate, I'm going to pound it a couple of times onto the seat. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to see where the mark is actually hitting. So if you actually see it, you'll see a line around the valve where it's been hitting. I'm going to do one better though. If we had the machinist die, it would be easy. If we had the machinist die, it would be easy to see it. What I'm going to do is wipe some of the dye off of it, so then you can actually see where the mark is hitting. Okay, so now if you take a look at that, you can see where the valve is actually making, or the seat's actually making contact with the face, or the face making contact with the seat. So it's about in the middle, a little closer to the margin side or the top side, and that's going to be good. That's going to be a nice seal for us for the exhaust valve. We'll do the same thing for the intake, and that should finish up our hit. Alright, so now we've got both valves and seats ground. We've lapped everything in place. We're going to put the valves back into the head. So Alejandro is holding the exhaust valve in, We'll put all that back together, come back with our compressor. Alright, get it compressed down. Then put in our lock through the valve. Now cars don't work like this. There's a lot more to them than what's here, but they also run at a higher RPM, and plus they're lubricated. Okay, these aren't, not internally anyway, like a car. They rely on us to lubricate them while they're running. Alright, now we're going to put the intake valve in. Do the same thing. This is a much weaker spring that we're using here. And you'll see why once the engine is running. Because it doesn't use a rocker arm or a push rod or anything to open the valve. It's vacuum from the engine. It actually opens it. So it's a much weaker spring. So that'll go on like that. In fact, we don't need the valve spring compressor for this one. I can push this one by hand. And then we'll put it through the hole. I guess I'll do it from the side. Alright, get it centered a little bit, and there we go. Get it set into the recess of the retainer. And that's it. Our head's back together. So once we've finished the head surface itself, we'll be able to put it back onto the engine and see if it fires up. Okay, so now that the head's all back together, we're going to focus on the carburetor. So what this is just it's just a fuel delivery system like any carburetor. This is our choke. Controls how much air flows through the venturi. This is our fuel inlet line, which does more than just that, and I'll show you that in just a second. And this is how we control the fuel flow. This is a needle valve. We manually set so we can control how much fuel goes in it. Now we already have this thing loosened and apart, so I'm going to pull it apart now. So again, the fuel comes in this way, and then we'll enter through the carburetor, or go through the carburetor and pass into the cylinder head past the intake valve. So here's how this works. We have our needle valve, and then we have our seat. So when these are actually in the carburetor themselves, that tapered portion will fit inside that orifice there for the seat, and then it goes in like so. So the further we spin this piece out, the more it opens up and allows that much more gas to flow through. So what Alejandro's going to do is he's going to focus on cleaning these pieces before we put it back together, so then we'll know we have the carburetor right when the head goes back on the engine. You can see Alejandro's taking his time cleaning that valve, and the way he's doing it is it's safer for the needle. I mean, you can pick it up in his hands and wipe it and do it that way if you want to, but sometimes guys will take like a razor blade or something and scrape it. You can't do that. These things are pretty critical. You know, if you open it up or close it a certain amount, you only want X amount of fuel passing through it, and you also want it to flow in correctly. As the fuel is atomizing coming through there, you want it to be the same and consistent all the time. So we want to make sure that needle stays straight with no scratches or anything in it. Looks like it's cleaning up really well. Okay, so now he's going to clean the seat, and I like using he's using a Q-tip on it. I definitely like doing that versus a rag or something or anything you can get in there. And he puts it in there, kind of twirls it around. You can see a lot of the debris coming off of there, and that's going to allow the seat to seat correctly and more perfect. There you go, twist. There you go. Alright, what's it look like? Alright, nice. Okay, a little bit more cleaning on that, and then we'll be able to put this and the needle back together and put it back in the carburetor. So this is the Stover engine cylinder. We're going to get cleaned up and hopefully get our piston installed today. Alright, so we've got the water jackets nice and clean. The cylinder's been cleaned and honed. Our piston cleaned up with our new rings installed. And we're about to put it back into the Stover engine. Alright, so we've got our head all cleaned up and fixed, ready to go on. We chased the threads on the head studs as well as the nuts themselves so they'll go on smoother with no stiction. And we've got a new head gasket in place. So now we're going to set the head on and get everything torqued and tightened down and see if we've got compression back.
After grinding out the body filler, we decided it would be better to weld in patch panels.
So next week we'll see if we got the Stover engine running. The auction for our SEMA Jeep will have already begun, so we'll see where we are on that. And we'll begin some of the metal fabrication for our '69 Nova. See you next week.